Hello and welcome. Today's class will begin with some nice, just kind of gentle, flowy motion, connecting our breath with our movement. And then in the middle, we'll work towards building a little bit of heat, doing a little bit of core work, and then we'll slow it down at the end, again moving into some kind of just flowy movement, working on connecting that breath with our movement before heading in to our Shavasana, our resting pose today. So we'll jump right into it. If you are ready, I would invite you to join me. We'll begin flat on our backs here today. Palms of our feet pressing into the mat. Taking a second to center ourselves here on the mat, making sure that we're pressing through our hip bones evenly into the mat. Shoulder blades nice and evenly pressing into the mat as well. And we'll take a moment or two here to bring some awareness to our breath. Check in with our breathing, perhaps by bringing one hand to our chest and one hand to our belly. And making sure here, when we're taking our nice, big, full inhales, that we're feeling expansion in our chest and our belly as we inhale in and exhale completely with each breath cycle that we take. And perhaps setting the intention here that we'll do our best to keep taking those nice, big, full inhales and complete exhales as we move throughout our practice today. Even when we find ourselves holding certain positions or postures, doing our best to ensure that we're not holding our breath. Taking a couple more of those full, complete breath cycles here. And the next time we find ourselves coming to an inhale, we'll send our arms up overhead, bringing our biceps to our ears. And on the exhale, drawing our knees in towards our chest and bringing the palms of our hands to our knees. Making sure that our lower back is pressing nice and firmly into the mat here. And as we inhale in, slightly straightening our elbows, pressing our knees away from our body. And as we exhale, bending the elbows and drawing our knees back in towards our chest. Repeating that motion, inhaling as we press the knees away. Exhale as we draw the knees back in. Really allowing our breath to guide us here. Staying nice and long through the back of the neck, making sure we're not tucking our chin. And when we come into our next inhale, as we press those knees away from our body slightly, let's send our arms up overhead, bringing our biceps to our ears. And on the exhale, bringing our hands back to our knees drawing in towards our chest. Repeating that motion here with a nice soft elbow, allowing that bend in the elbow as we bring the arms back down, hands resting on our knees. Inhale, sending the knees away slightly, arms overhead. And if this is where you are the most comfortable for today, I invite you to stay here. Another option will be on that next inhale, we'll send our legs straight as we open up with our arms as well, straightening those knees only as far as we're comfortable to do. And then on the exhale, bringing the feet down, hands come to our knees, repeating that here. Again, making sure that lower back is staying nice and pressed into the mat. And to make this more of kind of an abdominal workout here, when we come into that inhale and we straighten our legs, perhaps bringing the legs a little bit closer to the ground, so not quite straight at that 90-degree angle, just sending them out, kind of more straight here. Pressing that lower back into the mat. Repeating whatever motion you are finding the most comfortable, the best for you in this moment. We'll do that just a few more times here. Maybe mixing it up, sometimes sending the legs out a little bit closer to the ground, sometimes sending them straight up, and sometimes just keeping those knees bent with just the arms going up. Wherever we're at, let's do one more big inhale, opening up, and on the exhale, drawing all of our limbs back towards the center of our body. On a big inhale, we'll press those knees away from our body all the way until our feet are resting comfortably on the mat, sending our arms out to our sides. Feet about hip distance apart here. When we come into our next inhale, we'll send our hips up towards the ceiling, arms up overhead. And exhale as we melt the hips back down towards the mat, returning our hands to our sides. Again, inhaling and sending those hips up, arms go up, making sure that we're not tucking our chin, that we're staying nice and long through the back of our neck. Exhale, melting the hips back down to the mat, hands returning to our sides. One more time here, inhale and sending those hips up towards the ceiling, pressing through all 4 quarters of both of our feet. And then exhale, returning the hips, hands to our sides. And then walking our feet to just a little further than hip distance apart here. And then sending those arms out to a T if you have the space for it, or keeping those hands down by your sides. We'll take a big inhale in. And as we exhale, allowing both of our knees to melt over towards the left side of the floor of the mat. Inhaling in, we'll come back to center. And exhale, allowing both of the knees to melt to the right side here. And again, continuing this motion here, this movement, allowing your breath to guide you, inhaling to the center, exhaling as you melt to the sides. Getting a nice gentle twist here, nothing too crazy yet. And the next time we find ourselves with our knees dropped over to the left side of the mat, we'll hold there for 1 breath cycle. And then on the inhale, bringing those knees back towards the center, and exhale, dropping them to the right side again, where we will hold for 1 breath cycle. Inhaling in, we'll bring those legs back to center. And take a big exhale here. Coming into that next inhale, we'll send our arms up overhead. And on the exhale, drawing our knees in towards our chest, bringing the palms of our hands to our knees. And repeating that motion from earlier here as we inhale in, straightening the elbows, just slightly sending our knees away from our body. And as we exhale, drawing the knees back in towards our chest, bending up elbows. We'll repeat this just a few more times here. Inhaling as we press away. Exhale as we draw the knees in. Taking our time, pressing that lower back into the mat. And then next time we find ourselves coming to an inhale, we'll keep pressing all the way until our feet are resting comfortably on the mat. And then picking a side, whichever side feels the most comfortable for you today in this moment to roll onto. We will roll onto that side and take a breath or 2 here. And then slowly but surely, we will make our way coming up into a tabletop position. Checking in with our posture here in our tabletop. Knees directly beneath our hip points, tops of our feet pressing into the mat. The palms of our hands directly beneath our shoulder points, or perhaps walked up just slightly towards the front of the mat. Whichever feels the most comfortable for you, I invite you to stay there. To begin, we have a nice straight line from the crown of our head to the tip of a tailbone, or tip of our tailbone, a relatively straight line. And as we inhale in, raising our tailbone and the crown of our head towards the ceiling, exhale, rounding our back, melting our forehead and tailbone towards the mat, and continuing that motion here. On the inhale, bringing the tailbone and crown of our head towards the ceiling, engaging the abdominals by drawing that belly button in towards our spine. And as we exhale, rounding the back, really pressing through the tops of the feet here, pressing away from the floor with our arms, staying nice and engaged with all parts of our body here. Taking our time with this movement. And the next time we find ourselves coming through that center position with our spine, we'll find that moment of pause. And then when we are coming into our next inhale, we'll send our right arm out straight, bringing that right bicep to right ear, and extending the left leg straight as well. Exhale, returning right hand and left knee. Inhale, sending left arm out, right leg out. Exhale, bringing the hand and the knee back down, and repeating that motion here, switching sides, doing our best to keep our hips nice and square with the mat, drawing that belly button in towards our spine here, really engaging those abdominals, staying nice and long through the back of the neck, taking our time, pressing away with our hand that is on the mat, pressing evenly through that knee and hand and the top of our foot that is still on the mat as we're moving here, taking our time. When we come to that next time we have that right arm and left leg extended, we'll hold here for a couple of breaths. Nice big inhales and complete exhales. One more big inhale in and exhale, returning that right hand, bringing that left knee back down and inhaling, extending the left arm, right leg, doing our best to square those hips, breathing for a couple of breaths here. Nice big inhales and complete exhales, drawing belly button in towards spine. One more big inhale and exhale, releasing that left hand, returning right knee as well. And then we'll curl our toes and walk our hands back towards our knees and up onto our thighs here, coming up off our wrists, maybe rolling out the wrists a little bit. If this is uncomfortable on your feet at all, I would invite you to come up onto your knees. This is a really great stretch through the back of the feet, through the bottom of the feet. But if it's uncomfortable at all, I invite you to not do it. No need to be uncomfortable. Breathing here, nice big inhales and complete exhales. Taking one more big inhale in and then exhale, diving back down, coming into our tabletop position once again. And we'll work through a few more of those cat-cows here as we inhale in, bringing the tailbone and crown of our head towards the ceiling. Exhale, rounding the back, melting forehead and tailbone towards the mat. Drawing that belly button in towards our spine as we move. Pressing away with our palms. Taking our time, enjoying the movement. And the next time we find ourselves coming through that center position with our spinal column, we will find that moment of pause here. And then bringing our elbows down to replace where our palms are. So just bring those elbows right down here, keeping our arms, our forearms, and our hands and our wrists in alignment here, so it's like the little train tracks, and making sure that we're not dropping our lower back, so engaging our abdominals by drawing that belly button in towards our spine. And then we'll walk our knees back, keeping our shoulders in line, tracking over our elbows. We'll walk just our knees back here until we come to that top of our plank, top of the plank from our knees. If this is where you would like to stay in your plank pose today, I invite you to do so, keeping those hips nice and in line with the crown of our head and where our knees are resting on the mat. If you would like to join me, we can take a big inhale in, and as we exhale, we'll curl our toes and lift our knees up off the mat, doing our best to keep those hips nice and in alignment, pressing back with our heels, taking those nice big inhales and complete exhales. We'll do one more big inhale and exhale, dropping down to our knees, and we'll all press back now, up and back into a child's pose of our choosing. So for child's pose, we can have our knees spread wide. We could bring our knees together. We can walk our hands out overhead or make a nice little pillow by bringing our palms to our elbows to rest our heads. Wherever we are at, wherever we are comfortable, we'll rest here for a few breaths. When we come into our next inhale, we'll slowly bring ourselves back up into that tabletop position. Knees directly beneath hip points. Palms beneath our shoulders, or maybe a little bit further out. And then we'll replace our elbows or our palms. We'll replace our palms with our elbows. So bringing our elbows down to where our palms were resting on the mat here. Again, keeping those train tracks, making sure that we're drawing our belly button in towards our spine here, and then keeping our shoulders over our elbows. Again, we'll walk our knees back, coming to that top of our plank. I'm gonna walk myself back here on my mat. Coming into the top of our plank here from our knees on our forearms. Again, if this is where you are the most comfortable, I invite you to stay here. If you would like to join me, we'll take a big inhale in, and as we exhale, curling those toes, lifting those knees up, coming into that forearm plank, pressing those heels back, shoulders pulling or melting away from the ears here, belly button drawing towards spine, hips staying nice and straight, nice and in alignment with the crown of the head and the back of the heels here. Staying here for just a little bit longer than the first time around, taking those nice big inhales and complete exhales. We'll do one more big inhale in and exhale, releasing to the knees and pressing ourselves back again into that child's pose of our choosing, or maybe trying out a different one this time. Whatever feels best for you. Resting here for a couple of breaths. And coming into that next inhale, we'll slowly bring ourselves back up to that tabletop position for one more planking time. It will be so fun. Bringing those knees under our hips, palms under our shoulders, and then again walking those elbows down to replace the palms. Keeping those forearms in that nice straight lines with each other, nice parallel lines. And then stacking those shoulders over our elbows, we'll walk our hips back. And staying here in our nice form for the knees plank, a wonderful strengthening exercise right here. Or we can take that big inhale in as we curl those toes and exhale, lifting those knees up. For our last plank here, we will hold for just a little bit longer. If at any point in time you feel that you need that break, please feel free to drop to the knees or press back into that child's pose, pressing those heels back, shoulders pulling away from the ears, staying nice and straight through the back of the neck, gaze on the mat, nice big inhales and complete exhales, enjoying that shake if you feel it through your body. I know I am. Breathing here. We'll take one more big inhale in and exhale, releasing those knees and pressing ourselves up and back into that child's pose of our choosing. When we come into that next inhale, we'll bring ourselves back up into our tabletop position. Knees underneath hip points, palms underneath shoulders, maybe a little bit further up the mat. When we come into that next inhale, we'll bring our tailbone and crown of our head towards the ceiling. Exhale as we round the back, melting our forehead, tailbone towards the mat. Again, moving through this a few times here, following your own breath, your own pace, taking our time, enjoying this movement. Tops of the feet pressing into the mat. Next time we find ourselves coming through that neutral position, we'll find that moment of pause. And then crossing our ankles, we'll press ourselves back, coming into a nice, comfortable seated position of our choice. So whether that's crisscross applesauce here, or if we prefer to bring the palms of our feet together, whatever feels the best for you. If neither of those do, I would recommend bringing a blanket or a pillow or just something underneath your hips to help raise the hips up. That can sometimes help one find comfort in a seated position. Wherever we are at, we'll sit nice and tall, rolling those shoulders forward, up and back, chin nice and parallel to the floor to begin. Bringing the palms of our hands to our knees. As we inhale in, we'll pull our chest forward, bottom of our ribcage also pulling forward as we send our gaze just slightly up. And as we exhale, rounding our back, sending our gaze towards the floor, towards the mat. And repeating this motion here. Inhale as we pull ourselves forward. Exhale, rounding our back. Taking our time here. Again, enjoying this motion, enjoying this movement. Really allowing our breath to guide us. And the next time we find ourselves coming through that center position, we'll find that moment of pause. And then centering ourselves on our mat. We will work our way down into a flat back position through our boat poses, our last final little core check here. So to begin, we'll have the palms of our feet pressing into the mat, our knees here at a nice 90-degree angle-ish, rolling those shoulders forward, up, and back. Bring the palms of our hands to the mat behind us, or maybe coming up onto our fingertips, wherever we feel the most comfortable here. If this is your boat pose for today, I would invite you to stay here. It's a wonderful, lovely boat pose, drawing that belly button in towards our spine to really engage those abdominals. There's also the option to send our arms out to the sides, palms facing up. And again, staying here if this is where you are happy. We also have the option to bring our shins up so they're parallel to the mat. Staying here. We can also straighten those legs, straighten those knees if we so desire. Wherever we're at, we will lower down to the mat to a count of 10 with a beautiful pause at 4. So when we are ready, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, holding here, making sure we are not holding our breath even as we hold this position. Lower back pressing into the mat, nice and long through the back of the neck. Nice big inhales and complete exhales. Again, enjoying that shake. Maybe next time we come into an inhale, sending those arms up overhead, biceps to ears. And then 3, 2, 1, relaxing. Hands down at our sides, bringing the palms of our feet back to the mat. Knees up towards the ceiling. Didn't do a very good job of centering myself. Taking a couple of breaths here as we begin to cool ourselves down. And then next time we find ourselves coming into an inhale, sending our arms up overhead, biceps to ears. And as we exhale, drawing our knees back in towards our chest, bringing the palms of our hands to our knees. As we inhale in, straightening our elbows, sending our knees away from our body slightly. And as we exhale, drawing our knees back in, bending those elbows. Inhaling and pressing those knees away, keeping that lower back pressing into the mat. Exhale, drawing the knees back in. Repeating that motion, taking our time. And then next time we come into that inhale, as we send the knees away, we'll also bring our arms up overhead. And exhale, bringing everything back in. And making the decision if you would like to stay here, continuing with this motion here with the knees nice and bent. Or we can inhale, straightening the legs, sending the feet up towards the ceiling, arms overhead. And then exhale, bringing everything back in. Inhale as we open up, whichever way we've chosen to move. Exhale as we bring everything back in. Just a couple of more times now here doing this. Inhale as we open. Exhale as we close. One more big inhale in. And exhale, drawing everything back in towards the center. Palms of our hands are turning to our knees. Inhaling and pressing those knees all the way away until our feet are resting comfortably on the mat. Keeping our arms out at our sides. Feet about hip distance apart. Inhaling and sending our hips up towards the ceiling, bringing those arms up overhead. And exhale, returning the hips to the mat, hands down by our sides. Again, repeating that motion. Inhale in, hips go up, arms go up, pressing through all four corners of both of our feet here. Exhale, bringing the hips back down, hands come back down. Doing our best to keep those knees nice and in line with our ankles and hip points as well. Inhale in, sending those hips up, arms come up. So our knees aren't flaring out to the side, keeping them nice and straight. Little train tracks there. Let's do that one more time. Big inhale in, hips go up, arms go up. Making sure we're not tucking that chin. And exhale, returning the hips, bringing our hands down to our sides. Keeping the hips planted this time. One more big inhale, sending those arms up overhead. And as we exhale, drawing the knees back in towards our chest, palms of our hands to our knees. As we inhale and pressing those knees slightly away from our body, straightening our elbows. Exhale, drawing the knees back in. We'll move through this just a few more times here. Again, following your own breath, your own pace, taking your time. And then next time we find ourselves coming into an inhale, we'll keep pressing those knees all the way away until our feet are resting comfortably on the mat. And then finding some comfort on the mat as we move into our resting pose, whether that's with your knees bent like this, feet pressing into the mat, or sending your legs out long, keeping your arms at your sides, or perhaps resting them on your belly, maybe bringing a blanket or a pillow underneath your head, whatever feels the most comfortable for you in this moment. We'll do a quick full body scan here, seeing if there's anywhere where we're holding on to a little bit of extra tension, and doing our best to allow that tension to melt away, even if it's just for the few minutes that we're resting here today. Allowing our shoulders to melt away from our ears, shoulder blades melting into the mat. Relaxing our jaw, unfurrowing our brow, closing our eyes if we're comfortable to do so, or softening our gaze if you would prefer. Allowing our tongue to move away from the roof of our mouth, and allowing our breathing to return to its nice, natural resting state while we lay here breathing and resting for the next however many minutes you have. The video will stop here, but I invite you to continue resting for as many minutes as you see fit. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Namaste.